The reason that I chose Cambodia was because I actually didn't know anything about it. I didn't know much about the culture. I didn't know much about the history. So that actually is why I chose it originally.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Maddy,
Siem Reap Sir.
Siem Reap Sir, and thank you so much for granting Cambodianess an opportunity to interview you here at Memoire Palace Hotel. And Maddy, you have been in Cambodia since 2019, as you mentioned.
Yes.
You know, just a few months or maybe a year before COVID-19, and then you was here as a volunteer only, which means I assume you come here for a short period of time and then go back to Australia.
Yes.
But COVID blocked you from being there for some time.
Yes.
And then now, even though COVID has been away for many years, you decided to stay, and then you become a digital nomad.
Yeah.
If I can put it like that, okay?
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit like how did you get to know Siem Reap? I mean, the first time you hear the word Siem Reap, and then, how did you know about this small city in Asia?
This is an excellent question. Honestly, this is an excellent question. So if I'm being honest, actually, when I started looking at places to volunteer, coming from Australia, I actually really hadn't heard of Cambodia before. If I'm being honest, but that's why I picked it, because Cambodia is surrounded by its much larger neighbours. Obviously, many people know these countries that surround it. So the reason that I chose Cambodia was because I actually didn't know anything about it. I didn't know much about the culture. I didn't know much about the history. So that actually is why I chose it originally.
But when you don't know anything about a place, do you think it worries you instead?
It worries
it intrigues
sometimes.
you instead.
Intrigues.
Why?
Intrigues.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, there is a fear of the unknown, right? We get scared of things that we don't know. That is scary, and that should be scary. But it shouldn't be something that stops people, right? But if I don't know something, I'm a very curious person. I want to know things. I want to know, why does that work that way? What is that place like? So for me, it was very, very much intriguing to come to Cambodia and learn about a place that I really did not know much about at all. Yeah.
And then you chose to be in Siem Reap instead of other city, for example.
Yes.
The volunteer.
Yes. So part of the volunteer program was you could choose from, I think it was Battambang, Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, maybe Kampot. I don't actually know. I can't remember about Kampot. So the program actually gave you a few different locations to choose from. But I wanted to do Siem Reap because I'm from Australia, I'm from Melbourne, I'm already from a big city. So I didn't want to go to a big city. So Phnom Penh, I didn't really want to do. Battambang, once again, I didn't really know much about any of these places at all at that stage, 7.5, nearly 8 years ago. But Battambang also was very, very small at the time. So I was like, I think I want somewhere medium. Not busy, but not quiet. I think that will give me like a good exposure.
You said you don't know, but when you told me, Battambang is medium, Siem Reap is bigger.
I looked
So you did
on the map.
Yeah.
Exactly. But compared to the knowledge I have of Cambodia now, I feel like I didn't know much at all in terms of history, in terms of culture, even social practices and behaviours. The things I know now, it is a big, big contrast to where I started, kind of. Because I only looked at maps. I was like, oh, that's a city. Okay, cool. But the knowledge that I have now of Khmer culture and history is completely different. But so I picked Siem Reap at the very start because I was like, this looks medium. Not too busy, not too quiet. This will be a good kind of introduction. And like you said, it was only meant to go for 6 weeks.
I see.
And then 6 weeks turned into 8 weeks. And then 8 weeks turned into 6 months, and then a year, and year later. And it just kind of went like that.
But like, for example, with most visitors, they are attracted to, let's say, the cultural heritage, like temple. Were you attracted to that thing also?
Yeah.
Like the temple, I mean, in what way during that time?
I think for me, like I mentioned before, I am an incredibly curious person. I like to know things. And because I really did not know much about Khmer culture, about Angkor, about any of those things, seeing the temples, I think most people, whether it's an expat or a tourist or even Khmer, when you see the temples, it is it is an incredible experience. It makes you feel not only very small, but also these structures have stood for 1,000+ years kind of thing. So there is a lot of curiosity and interest in, for example, for me, I like architecture. So I like to go to the temples and I like to go, okay, that looks like 9th century architecture because I can see, I know those stones were popular. I know those carvings were popular. I know those beliefs were popular. So for me, there is that interest in going to the temples and being able to see Khmer history reflected in them.
So you did study the phases in which the architecture evolved in Khmer?
Yes.
Wow,
even like with Bayon, right?
Yeah.
When you go to Bayon and you look at the galleries that circle around it, all of that, I look at it as a record of Khmer culture because you have not only wars, but you have daily activities like cockfighting, like fishing, like market life. You have all of these incredible aspects of history recorded in stone. And I remember going to Angkor Wat, not just Angkor Wat, but the Angkor Wat Park, and going to Bayong, going to all of these different places and seeing these things and just being amazed because it's recorded.
But for example, like how do you find it? I mean, it's not a it's not a strange question, but like how do you find it interesting? For example, it's just ancient people cooking or ancient people going on an ox cart. I mean, forgive me if I ask this question. You are from a big city from Australia.
Yeah.
How could these small things amaze you instead?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
I think they amazed me because of the contrast. Like you said, coming from a big city, Melbourne, Australia, things are very not only digitalized, but things are very, what's a good word, set up to be efficient, for example. The little things that we have here, for example, taking your clothes to the tailor to get fixed. Not a big thing in Australia. Taking your shoes to get fixed, going to ask someone for help. All of these little things that we have access to here, we do not have as much access to, or they're not as important in other countries kind of thing. So seeing, for example, people traveling around by ox cart, seeing people cooking on an open fire with the ceramic barbecue thing, kind of all of those kinds of things, or even when people are cooking like nom kruk and they have the iron, I don't know how to say, but like the sandwich press.
Like a waffle maker, something like that, yeah.
But seeing all of those things that I had not really seen before, that was very humbling for me.
You mean like something subtle, if I may?
Yes.
Yeah, something subtle.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, but it was interest and curiosity, I think, a big part of seeing these kinds of things, yeah.
So speaking of your curiosity, because you used to join a competition, a video competition, and then you secured a first place.
Yes.
And inside your I think about 10 or 15 minute video.
Yes.
You have a lot of footages.
Yes.
I think more than what people from Phnom Penh ever visit Siem Reap. So how did you manage or bring yourself the enthusiasm to visit every part of Siem Reap instead of one night at Pub Street, one morning at Angkor? Why do you need to secure every place in your camera?
That's a good question. Yeah. There's a few different reasons. So firstly, part of that video competition, I wanted to show people things that I think are quintessentially Khmer, like things that make Khmer culture special. So food is a big part of it. But one of the things that I wanted to showcase was how, even though I'm not Khmer, I've only lived here for 8 years, but I have this immense pride for Khmer culture and for all of these things that Khmer culture has, whether it's food, whether it's traditions, whether it's special events and things like that. So showing all of these aspects that I thought, even though they felt small, like showing someone in the competition, I took a quick shot of someone making sugarcane juice and using that machine. Or like we talked about before, the waffle machines and things like that. All of these things that, like you said, are very subtle, very small, I think they make, I thought they were important to include in that video because they are part of Khmer culture. They're the little things that make up Khmer culture kind of thing. So when I was thinking of footage that I wanted to include in that video, I wanted to show people the big things, like going to Angkor Wat, going to Phnom Krom, going to, for example, Kulin Elephant Sanctuary. I wanted to show the big things, but I also really wanted to make sure that I was showing things that I think are important to my culture that are subtle. Even, for example, at the start of that video, there's an introduction, but then when I appear on the screen, all of the sounds in that video, none of those are native sounds. None of those are original sounds. All of those sounds are taken and layered on top of each other. So even when it came to researching, I had to research and learn about Khmer music, Khmer musical instruments. You'll hear sounds in that video if you rewatch it eventually, where you'll hear the Khmer instrument. That's not a real sound. That's taken from a video. But I knew to take it from that video because I had to research what instruments are involved, what sounds were all of these kinds of things.
So you were precise.
I tried to be. I really tried to be. Yeah. Because like I said, I'm not Khmer, but I feel very lucky to live in this country. I feel very grateful to live in this country. I am a guest here. I'm very, very grateful for that. And because of that, those feelings of gratefulness, I wanted to just show Siem Reap and show what it has, kind of thing. If that makes sense, yeah.
Yep. But maybe from your personal opinion, because right now, people said, okay, Angkor is, or maybe temple in general, it is, what we call the grand jewel of the crown, something like that.
I like that.
But we still, need to showcase more than the temple. So in your opinion, what do you see that still interests, expat or maybe digital nomad like you beside the temple, especially in Siem Reap? Or maybe you can mention something like Battambang or other places.
Okay, I'm thinking. Apart from Angkor Wat, obviously Kulin is a very popular place that people visit. But even, for example, thinking about Kulin very quickly, when people go to Kulin, they will just go to the waterfall and look at the lingas. But even Kulin Mountain is the birthplace of the Khmer Empire. It's got an insane amount of things in it, whether it is temples, whether it's structures, whether it's even... there is an area in Kulin Mountain that you do need kind of a guide to get to. There are a lot of places that you need people to actually really take you to. But there is an area in Kulin where there is a flat surface on a cliff and they have carved, the shape of like bowls into the rock surface of this cliff.
Artificial?
No, people carved into it because those were used for medicine, to make ancient traditional Khmer medicine and all of these kinds of things. So even thinking about places to suggest to people, like I said before, Kulin Mountain, amazing place to go. But one of the things I like to suggest is don't just go for the things like we said, the Angkor Wat or even just superficial tourist things, because a lot of these places have such a rich, historical and cultural connection, like I said, with the traditional medicine basins and things like that. That gives you information about a culture, what they thought was important, practices that they did. But Kulin Mountain, amazing place to go, obviously. Getting out of the city as well, going towards, let me think, kind of going towards like Bante Mien Che, amazing area. Going towards I'm trying to think in my head.
Previhir, maybe.
I love Previhir. I loved Previhir. Previhir was the first time I stood at the very end or the very start of the causeway, because it leads up and then you've got the temple, leads up, another one, and then the final one on top. Even with that, I remember standing at the front and being like, what is this? What is this? And then I walk and I'm like, oh my God, there's more, it keeps going. But Previhir is amazing. But all of these places, I would suggest getting out of the cities, whether that's by yourself, whether that's with a guide, because we want to support local Cambodian business, tuk-tuk drivers, tour guides, yes. But getting out of the countryside and going to find things that you perhaps haven't experienced or wouldn't have found even by yourself are kind of the places that I like to go to. I'm trying to think of more. It's a great question. I'm annoyed because I'm not doing it justice. But it's a great question. Give me a little bit more direction. Yeah.
But at the same time, because you said you were an English teacher back in Australia.
Yes.
And then you teach primary school students.
Yes.
So, you know, when you come here, then because COVID forbid you from going back for some time, you have taken a job as an English teacher, and you have your own website, your own YouTube channel, Facebook page,
yes,
something like that, and then you do teach English.
Yes,
you mentioned something like Cambodian children still lack, you know, the sufficient English studying hours. Is that what you? I think you wrote it somewhere. Do you think it is, you know, still a limited, you know, number?
That's a great question.
I mean, yeah.
Compared to other places that I've traveled, genuinely, I feel the English level that Cambodians have, I actually feel is really quite good compared to other places I've traveled.
I see.
Even when I've gone, for example, into the countryside here, I've stopped on the side of the road to get something to eat, and I've been chatting to the person, and suddenly they're speaking back to me in perfect English. I'm like, oh my, where did you learn English? And they'll tell me their whole story, like, oh, I went to school here, I went here, I went here. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm 2 hours, 3 hours from a city. And you're speaking to me in perfect English. So personally for me, I feel Cambodians' level of English, and also the, how could we say, not only level of English, but the, I'm thinking of a good word, range or the amount of people who have exposure to English, I actually think is quite good compared to other countries.
I see.
And I feel whether by reading the news and by reading different articles and seeing the direction the government's going and everything, I feel like that's going to improve.
But some people said that is you know, a difficulty for them. For example, some expat, they said, oh, I'm not going to learn Khmer, or I cannot learn Khmer because all people are speaking English all the time, you know. I mean,
as a teacher, this hurts.
Yeah, really.
Because it's English is a universal language. Yes, knowing English is going to give you probably a better access to opportunities and maybe a better career. Knowing English is going to help people, but also as a teacher, language is how you connect to your culture. When regimes have happened, when governments have tried to do some bad things, they always target language, right? They always try and separate people from their culture. For example, in Scotland, when England decided to decided they wanted to be in charge, they banned them speaking hold on, I've given a horrible example. Let me go back. Okay. For example, when a government or a regime wants to take control, they often try and separate people from language. Yeah. Because language is how people relate to their culture. My culture is my language. I speak my language. So it makes me a little bit sad sometimes when I hear parents go, no, we just want our child to speak English. I get why. I really understand why. Because like we said, it gives you better opportunities, better access to things that you wouldn't normally have. However, culture is important, your self-identity is important, and your language is a big part of your identity.
I see.
If that, So it makes me a little bit sad sometimes when people are preferencing English. English should be, for many people, it would be helpful.
At the same level with Khmer or, you know, something like that. Yeah.
We're going towards this. English is amazing. English is the be-all and end-all, and it's helpful. But your identity is made up of your culture. Your culture involves your language, your traditions, your clothes, music, food,
mindset,
everything. Exactly.
Yeah, everything. Yes.
So I've met so many Cambodians who they've grown up outside of Cambodia, and one of the first things they say is, "I can't speak the language. I can't. I'm Khmer, but I can't speak the language," and that is something that they have often identified as something that they wish they could do. So this kind of influence, this perception and this personal opinion that I have of language is important. It's your culture. Your culture is important. Like that makes you who you are.
I see.
And even when you get expats and foreigners coming here, and like you said, they'll take the stance of, I'm not going to learn the language, or I can't learn the language. It makes me sad as well, because like I said before, we are guests here. This is not my country. I'm just lucky enough to live here. But we are guests here. And a way that, if anything, we can show respect is by trying. by trying to learn a language, whether it's I was living in Cambodia, whether I was living in China, whether I was living in France. As a way of showing respect, I would try and learn the language.
Of the local community.
Wherever that I'm living, because I'm a guest. This is not my country. I'm lucky to be here.
I see.
So it's a respect thing. It's a way you can show respect and value for the culture that you're in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And most people, they say that, okay, Siem Reap is, jumping to another topic.
Go for it, please.
You said Siem Reap is popular for tourists and also retiree, but the other group of visitor, let's say digital nomad, not many people really talk about that. And you mentioned there's a report into that thing. So to you as a digital nomad, you teach English online.
Yes.
But at the same time, you still enjoy the scenery of Siem Reap. How does being a digital nomad here feels like to you?
Oh, okay. How does being a digital nomad here feel like?
Is it like
me?
the internet, or like you said, the cost of living, everything combined?
I feel, let's go with being a digital nomad here. I think there are things that make it easier. Even, for example, thinking about different places that you are only allowed to stay in for 3 months or 6 months, or there are different countries where you have to go every 3 months to the immigration office and register. So actually, from a visa point of view to start with, being a digital nomad here is actually quite easy because you get a 3-month, a 6-month, a 1-year visa, as well as the work permit, all the legal issues, excellent. But it is very easy in terms of legalities to stay here. That's the first kind of point. Like you mentioned as well, and like we were talking about before, cost of living, your rent, your food, even transport, very doable here. For example, in Australia, if I want to get an Uber, going 2 kilometers will cost me $15.
2 kilometers?
Yep, $15.
Wow, here
So,
it's about less than $2.
Yeah, not much. Like 4,000 real. Like it's not much. So cost of living here is very accessible, and it means that people like myself, for example, don't have to work a 60-hour week. If I was in Australia, unfortunately, I would have to work a 50 to 60-hour week to save, to make money, to try and afford things, and I would be very stressed. And I'll be very miserable and just I see this with a lot of my friends as well. They're happy and they're enjoying their lives, but they're stressed and they're anxious about things. So I think having cost of living here being so low is one good thing emotionally. That you're not as worried. Your money goes a little bit further. But also, having said that, me being allowed to live here, not everyone has that privilege. Not everyone has the means or the access to do those kinds of things. So I also understand that, yes, this is amazing, but also not everyone is able to do this, and I'm very lucky to be able to do this. So those so far, our cost of living, very cheap here, very accessible, as well as the legal proceedings in terms of visas, work permits, very doable for digital nomads. The third one as well, internet and connectivity.
I see.
Personally, I think Cambodia has actually really good internet. And also, like I was mentioning before, if I have an issue for internet in Australia, you can call the internet company, but they will help you in a month, 2 months. We'll get to it when we can. But here, people are very responsive, and that matters, whether it's with internet companies, whether it's with people getting back to you. I do find people are very, very responsive. People care about helping you and getting back to you. So one of the other things that helps people working online here is having good internet, and having that responsiveness. If something goes wrong, it can be fixed in a good time frame.
So, because like when people come here, they also want to know about a place, how the weather is like. For example, Cambodia. Again, people might know that it is very humid.
Yes.
It is very hot, and the weather can be hot in the morning and then rainy in the afternoon and then cold again in the evening. So, from Australia, maybe I assume that the weather is similar. So do you find the weather here livable?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me as well, I am miserable in the cold weather. I'm not a cold weather person. I don't enjoy it. I get very unhappy and I get very like, I don't want to do anything. But the weather here, I think it's very manageable. Obviously in April, January, February, March, April, May, it can get very, very hot and quite sticky.
I see.
But it's manageable. You have a fan, you can use the AC if you want. Electricity is not crazy, crazy high. So you've got things that you can use to get through it. But also, I think it's also important to remember everyone is hot. Everyone is warm during these periods. It's not just you personally that is struggling. Everyone is feeling warm. But it's very manageable. It's like in your own country where, okay, it's hot today. What am I going to do to deal with that? You just manage it kind of thing. But I personally like tropical weather. People are happier. They're hot and they're sweaty, but they are happier. I think, yeah. But I think it's very manageable as long as you do things that are practical to help you get through it.
I see. So it's more like also quite a challenge, but in a way, if you, it's not too hard to overcome.
Yes, exactly.
I see. So from your experience of living in Cambodia for nearly 10 years, if I can say, is there any caution that you, for example, you would like to tell maybe future digital nomad before they come to Cambodia? It's like the thing that you wish Cambodia would improve for digital nomad in the future.
Oh, good question. Very good question. Like we were talking about before, I feel that we will see changes with different visas, for example. I feel that the government will eventually, because the impression that I get is the government want people to come. They want people to see Cambodia. They want people to enjoy the culture and enjoy all of the things that Cambodia has to offer. So my guess genuinely is that I feel we will see different visas coming out, whether that will be a digital nomad visa, whether that will be visa changes that allow people to stay longer without paying, or different fee structures or things like that. I think those changes will happen. I have no guesses as to when they will, but I get the impression from things that I read and the direction that the government wants to take that we will end up seeing those things. But in terms of ease of living, if you have the right health insurance, you do a bit of research, get a good health insurance, you'll be covered. Get your own method of transport, whether that's a bike, a motorbike. Some people buy tuk-tuks as well. I've seen expats driving around little tuk-tuks,
it's bigger than a motorbike.
Yes. But in terms of the day-to-day living, my life is a lot easier here than in Australia. I am able to go and get a coffee without feeling too bad that I did that. In Australia, coffee's like $7 to $8, so I feel a bit worse. Like that wasn't a good choice. But here, day-to-day living, I am able to engage more in society, it feels like. My life is a lot easier. Embarrassingly, I don't wash my clothes here. I have a laundry person that I send my clothes to. In terms of daily living, I find my life much easier here.
So, but I heard that, maybe just to confirm and to clarify from your opinion, some, I can say, important people in the tourism sector, they say that Siem Reap is small, compared to, let's say, other city, in the region. Maybe I think the population is less than 500,000. Maybe in the entire province, but Siem Reap has almost everything. It has the Western, environment, the very traditional Cambodian environment. The modern Cambodian environment. So, do you think this mixture of things in one place, even though it is not that large, contribute to, the ease of living, as a digital nomad?
I really think it does. I really think it does, because it is Siem Reap, for example. It's not giant metropolis kind of city like Phnom Penh, but it's not quiet like Battambang, even though Battambang is actually geographically huge. Doesn't have a lot of people, but huge. Siem Reap, it has, like you said, all of those things that people need, as well as things, whether it's cultural, in terms of food, music, clothes, all of these kinds of things. You have access to those things. You have access to history. It really does create the perfect environment for doing these kinds of things, because I think one of its advantages, honestly, is that it is not giant. If we had a giant city like Phnom Penh, culture often gets a little lost, right? Culture in giant cities often starts to get a bit lost and it's not favoured as much. So if anything, Siem Reap's size actually probably works in its favour and actually probably helps it, because even for me, I was saying to a friend yesterday, I like it because it's not like living in a tiny country town. It's not like living in a big metropolitan kind of city. We have the ability to walk down the street. You might see some people, great. You might not. So I like that mixture. There is a wonderful community here, I feel. People, and I've watched that community grow in the last 8 or so years, where when I first got here, it was very party, drinking, let's have fun, great. But since COVID and everything, I've watched the community here go through somewhat of a really beautiful change. People in the expat and Siem Reap community are very supportive, very welcoming, very easy to get along with, and will include you in things, very inclusive. So I think also that comes back to the size as well. If it was a giant city, that wouldn't work. If it was tiny, that wouldn't happen. So once again, the size of Siem Reap allows for all of these things, I think. Yeah.
So based on your opinion, you know, you don't want not in a bad way, but you don't want Siem Reap to grow too big, you know, because many people enjoy, you know, the modesty.
Yes.
Modesty of Siem Reap.
Yeah. I think I understand that Cambodia needs to continue growing, and I want it to keep growing because, like I said, I'm not Khmer, but I love this country. I love this culture. I have a lot of respect for what Cambodia has become through what has happened in its very recent history. To have all of those things happen and then to come out of it, this society and this culture, I think is an incredible testament to Khmer culture and just all of these things. So I know that it has to grow. I want it to grow. I want it to get stronger. I want Khmer people to be making money and having opportunities and access to things that people in other countries have. I want to see all of that. But I also have this small hope that it doesn't become completely eroded, completely like pushed away for the sake of profit, for the sake of getting better and bigger and everything. I want it to grow, but I want it to hopefully grow in a genuine kind of way, if that makes sense.
Not too planned, not too artificial.
Not doing things in favor of westernization. I hope that, and I think it will, I really think it will happen, that I think Khmer culture will always be quite central to things here. I don't see it being pushed aside as much as other countries might have done in the past with their cultures and things like that. But I want it to grow. I want to see these things happen. But I also hope that the things that make Khmer culture and Cambodia special are retained and kept. Yeah.